Warriors game? Who's got a score update for him? Anybody? Okay, Warriors are winning. I got it.
Second quarter? All right, tell me no more. I'm recording it.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
No more. We won't do any more of that. We did get to see you, though, sit courtside for Game 7 in Sacramento. You sat next to Warriors owner Joe Lacob. You told him that it was the most fun sporting event that you've been to, which is surprising to me because you get to watch these incredible athletes up close on a daily basis. What made that, watching the NBA on the floor, courtside, what made that so fun and so special?
Well, the sporting events I'm up close to, I consider a work day, so I don't consider that an event. I enjoyed going to the Super Bowl in 1998, senior in high school, and sitting on the sidelines. That was an awesome sporting event, but I don't feel
a lot
the same
less pressure.
Working.
Yeah.
So going to basketball games is always different for me, but Warriors games are different in general. Just the way they play, Steph, one of a kind, Clay, and then the style that they play was fun to watch. But that was my first time sitting courtside, and I've been to some good seats before, but like fifth row, and I thought that was good enough. And then I didn't realize why right there is so ridiculously expensive, because as long as you don't have to pay for it, it's worth it. That was unbelievable just to be that close and see that and see those athletes in such a small area, and it felt real special. So.
Now you're ruined though, right?
Definitely.
Any other seat is no good anymore.
No, definitely. It's just like you have no problem with business or economy. It's fine. And then, but once you randomly sit in first class, now all of a sudden it's bad. So it is tougher, but.
Well, we appreciate you being here, Kyle.
I'm glad to be here. This is awesome.
You probably didn't have a chance to go to Game 5 anyway, did you?
I can't believe you asked that. I told him backstage, but I think it was because I won the last time I went, but he actually invited me to the exact same situation last night. He sent a text to my wife and I inviting us back. It was like 5:30 at night, and I looked at my calendar and I said, I can't make it. I hope he doesn't judge me for that, because I won't be invited again.
I think he'll understand.
I'm glad to be here, but I'm worried that he's going to be offended.
Maybe you'll get the invite for Game 7.
I hope so. So, got to win too, though.
Yeah. Okay, so you put this night on your schedule. We just found out, the NFL just announced that you guys have a Week 13 game, NFC Championship game rematch at Philadelphia. The thing that surprises me, it's not prime time. So what do you, when you learned that when you would be playing the Philadelphia Eagles, that's on December 3rd, your reaction?
I'm good with it. I don't really look past week 1, so I'm waiting for that first week, which I may or may not know. And once I see that, that's all you plan for, and then after that, you deal with it. Because now, I am glad we're not playing Philly week 1. I want to play them at a better time. I want to make sure our whole team's right there, and I don't like going back to Philly again. My wife's bitter about it a little bit. She didn't like her fan experience in the stands. So she's not going this time. But we felt like we didn't get to do it last time, and I'm ready to go back again.
Yeah, how many people? I'm curious, did anybody go to Philadelphia last year for the? There we go.
Oh, wow. We're not supporting that.
This turned in a hurry. But you guys are what, 2 weeks into your off-season program, or 2 weeks into your phase 2 of the off-season program. So right now, do you have any kind of gauge on how things are looking?
Yeah, I mean, things have been great. I mean, this is our 7th year in this situation, and I feel like we have as much of a returning team as we've had before. It always changes, but our main nucleus is coming back. We've had some great pieces, and we're a month into it. We've been out on the field with the guys for about a week and a half. We have one more week of that, and then we actually get to start practicing against each other. But the turnout's been great. Our guys, you don't have to go in there, and I don't have to talk as much this time of year because we have so many guys. Fred, to name one who's here, but we have so many guys who just know what we expect and how it's done. And it's kind of just a machine right now. Our players lead it. We have a certain standard. You don't have to go and ask guys to work hard. Our guys work as hard as they can. They show up, they get to work, and we're trying to prepare them so we can be ready for OTAs. And when we go to OTAs, we'll get about 8 to 9 practices, depending how it ends up. But we got to make sure we're conditioned for that so no one gets hurt. And then we got 8 or 9 days to get better, and then we'll take 40 days off. And right when we come back from that, it's on, because that's training camp, and we won't look up till hopefully the end of February.
All right. Fluff questions are over. We're getting to the real stuff now. So I just want to talk about Brock Purdy. It's such a crazy story. I mean, Mr. Irrelevant to an NFL starter, NFL star. When you sit back and have a chance to think about what he did, what he accomplished, and the rest of the team at the end of that season, are you as dumbfounded as the rest of us? Sometimes I still think about it, and it's just, you could write a movie on it.
No, you can. I mean, I haven't been a part of that for without a doubt. I'd like to be able to tell you guys we knew that was going to happen. I will say we were always very confident of Brock. We loved him coming out of college, from his first practice to his last before he played. I mean, we felt real good about him. I remember always messing with Jed and telling him how good our third string quarterback's been playing, who's getting 3 reps a day and who's his height. And he's like, okay, whatever. And I'm like, no, he's been playing really good. And then I remember when everyone got hurt, and Jed comes up and is like, so we're gonna be all right. You've been telling me how good he is. I'm like, whoa, slow down. It's his first time playing. So it's like, we always kind of feel that way because he plays. The way you guys saw him is what we see every day, and that's what we saw in college. But until you put someone under that fire and you put them out in an NFL atmosphere, usually that kind of takes time to get used to. And what was so cool about Brock was he was the same dude we saw on tape from college, the same guy we saw in practice, and you got to see that right in the middle of the Miami game when he went in randomly and took over, and from then on out you got to see it. And gave me a ton of confidence and our players a ton of confidence, and I think once all you guys saw it, I think it gave you guys a ton of confidence.
Difficult to think about too is you see a guy in practice, but it's a completely different atmosphere when you're in an NFL game. What impressed you the most about what Brock Purdy did over those 8 games?
The fact that you can look that way in practice and then get thrown into an NFL game where things get very real very fast and it still looks the same.
What is that? Is that a mental toughness, a mental strength?
Yeah, I'd say so. I just think you either have it or you don't. You can look into some people and they might test your heart rate, your blood pressure, where it raises, where it goes, whatever. I'm sure there's some science you can see it, or you can just say some guys are made to do it and some aren't. And you want to see how they are in the heat of battle. And sometimes people can come in there and they don't even know what they're involved in. So they just do it without any anxiety and such a clear mind. And then once they play a few games, it starts to hit like, oh man, everyone's talking about me. I got to keep doing this. And then you kind of see guys just melt. And that was what's cool with Brock. You never saw that. I mean, he didn't come in for just 1 game. He didn't just come in for 3. He came in for 8. He didn't lose one of them. And, that makes you feel good when you watch the game play.
What I like for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they're kind of opposites. John is more of a positive guy. Kyle's the guy who says, I don't know if any of us will be alive on Sunday.
I'm just gonna trash talk you to your face right here in front of the people. Come on,
you
man.
have this dichotomy. You have John Lynch saying, Brock can be ready, and then Kyle says, he might miss 4 or 5 games. We don't know. So how is Brock coming along, and how can you get him ready for whenever he steps onto the field? What's he able to do now that will help him when he's able to be cleared to play?
As long as Brock's elbow heals right, he'll be the exact same guy. And when you have a clean break like that or a tear, it will be. You can't have a setback and you can't have something heal wrong, but everything's been completely on pace. And just watching him now, I mean, he's doing the same drills all the other quarterbacks are doing. He's just using a towel to throw, but still doing violent motions, still moving it. He's just not doing it with a football. He'll get closer to that, and as long as there's not a setback, we think he'll be there in training camp, but he can get so much better right now. Last year, he didn't get a lot of reps. You got to sit and listen to everything, and he came in last year about a week and a half from today, which means he missed a whole month. And we've been doing this whole last month is teaching our whole offense from step 1. And when you have an hour-and-a-half meeting about one play that has so many different intricacies of it, and a guy's never done it before, but he's watching all these other people do it, whether it's 8 different quarterbacks over 15 different years versus all different situations. And then at the end of it, he gets to see himself running for 7 plays last year. He gets to see Jimmy run it for 4 times last year. He gets to see Trey do it for one time. And now you get a look at all this stuff, and he can actually put himself in the situation like, oh, I remember how those 6 clips felt. I remember those looks. I remember that coverage. I remember why I did good or bad. Now what can I do going forward? Oh, those other 80 clips from other people actually mean something to me because I didn't see those clips. How am I going to adjust for that? So like now, as he's sitting there rehabbing all the time, everything's about getting your feet and your eyes in the right spot. Yeah, and I hope you're born to throw because we're not going to teach you very fast. This is the NFL, and Brock can do all that. So, and everyone can in our league. So it's about how you play the game, and Brock does that very naturally. But now he's actually looking at it and having experience and being able to learn everything and slow it down and sit there. And to me, when he can jump in there and go full speed, because he got the experience and now he can just sit back and watch it, I think he's going to be a hell of a lot better.
So it was just a couple years ago, you take Trey Lance with the number 3 overall pick, and just last year, he was the starting quarterback going into the offseason. And, obviously the starting quarterback week 1. Now, after Brock played as well as he did, you and John Lynch have both said, in essence, he's the leader in the clubhouse, Brock Purdy is. So how should we read that about where Trey is now with the organization?
Yeah, no, I get that question. I understand the unusual circumstances of when you trade up for a quarterback with the 3rd pick in the draft, how you're expecting him to be the man for a long time. And we did expect that, and I still believe that he can be. You're also not expecting the last pick in the draft to come in and play at that level. That's why he was our 3rd quarterback, despite how good he did from day 1 to all there. But you're not expecting it. He got that opportunity because of injury. And then he went in for 8 games and won every one, which is the first thing you look at. But then you watch the tape and just try to see why. And it was legit. He played at an extremely high level. I think our team got a lot better when he got in there. And I think his position and every position around it, including our team. And when you go back and watch it, he's a real player. And so when you talk about what does it say about Trey, I just think it's so unfair to Trey. Trey played 1 game this year. What it says about is what Brock did in his 8 games. And what Brock did is really damn good. Now, what does that mean to Trey? Nothing. He's only got 1 game to play. The year before he got 2 games. We took Trey thinking he would get an opportunity to play more because we knew where we were going to go eventually. That didn't happen. Not because of anything against Trey. He wasn't quite ready his first year, and Jimmy was still on our roster. And Jimmy is a very good quarterback. It's not easy to beat out. And then we made the move to Trey. We were able to get Jimmy as a backup at a very cheap price, just luckily, in case something bad happened. But we were ready to go with Trey. And Trey was going to go through a lot that year. And I believe he would have got to a level that did some similar stuff. He missed that off, and Brock came in and did it. Now, I truly believe Trey can go do that. But Brock's already done it. And that's a very good thing for us to have. And that's not something that I got to make a statement about. That's something that our players know from watching the silent tape. That's something I can see every day when we watch these 8 games. We know what we have. I truly believe with my heart what Trey can be. It still takes time and you got to go do it. But in the meantime, we have a guy sitting there who already has done it. And that's a very good thing for the Niners. That's a very good thing for Brock. And you know what? I see it as a very good thing for us. I'll let it play out, and we'll see if Brock gets healthy. We'll see how much ground Trey can gain in the meantime through practice and things like that. And when Brock comes back and is healthy, we'll see where we're at. But the one thing that we did we went into last year not knowing if we could have a high starting caliber quarterback because no one on our roster had done it before. And we believed someone could. That's why we were rolling the dice. And then we ran into a very good backup. And Trey missed that opportunity. And then Jimmy came in and helped us for a while because he was proven. Then Brock got the same opportunity Trey started with. And when it was all said and done, because if someone got to play, we know we have a quarterback who's done it out there at a high level in the NFL who we can win with. I also believe we have 2 more on our roster. All right, strongly. But one other guy showed it. So let's see how it plays out. And I could say that I'll make the decision, but I really don't look at it that way. I look at it as the players make the decision. And it all comes down to the silent tape. And I'll articulate it for you if you ask me a question. But it's going to go back to what we see on that tape, and usually the answer's right there.
Well, what about it's early right now, but how's Trey coming along right now in these early?
Trey's been awesome. I mean, the one thing that I think was such a tough challenge for Trey, his first year when he broke that finger and it healed but didn't heal right, he spent a whole year throwing without a bent finger, which changes everything, which shows the toughness of the kid that he never complained about it. He just tried to adjust so he could be out there. And then the whole offseason, he spent trying to fix that and get that back. So by the time we got him, he was a little bit behind. He had spent a whole offseason away from us, just trying to rehab his grip so he could get back to throwing normal. And then we got with him, and now everything goes. And yeah, he got better through all of that, but then he got hurt. And you got to sit and watch Brock, you got to watch Jimmy. You got to sit and think about the ups and downs he had preparing for the moment and actually not go through the moment. And now we get to this offseason, yes, he had an ankle, but the ankle was healed pretty fast, but he had no other injuries. So as soon as the season ended, Trey was working in all aspects, not trying to re-get his grip, just trying to throw like he always has before he got hurt. And now once his feet were healthy, he was able to get such a better base in these last 2 months that I think Trey's the best that we've had him right now. And yeah, we got to get in OTAs and practice, but when you just watch his feet, his timing, how he's throwing the ball, he's in such a better place now than he was last year at this time. And I know he's coming off a big injury, but it's because he was healthier this year. Even though last year was a little injury with a hairline fracture on a pinky, but it healed the wrong way. And this year it's a bad break on the ankle, but it healed right like most of them do. And now I just see him in such a better place, and now we'll present to him some football and stuff when we get to OTAs. We're allowed 9 of them, and we'll put players out there, and we'll see how he's playing. We'll let him and Sam roll, and then we'll evaluate all that, and we'll take 40 days off, and we'll see how we want to lay it out in training camp.
Well, I don't know if any of you saw, but my co-host here really likes a controversy. Did anybody see what Matt Mayoko had to say about Sam Darnold last week?
You're going to throw me under the bus, huh, Laura?
I'm gonna ad-lib here. It was something like Sam Darnold's the best thrower of the football in 49ers history. Anybody?
I said in the history of the universe.
Oh yeah, he went up himself. He said something along those lines. What are your first impressions of Sam Darnold and what he looks like?
I mean, I don't think that's a big controversial statement. I mean, Sam is an unbelievable thrower. He was born to do that. I think Jimmy's one of the best throwers on the planet I've ever seen. And the way he can do it, I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And you want guys who are like that, but most guys are in the club in terms of there's only a few people on this planet who can throw at the level that you need to throw at to succeed in this league. And then you have the guys who are usually some higher draft picks or put ahead of them. Sometimes it's for their elite arm ability, sometimes it's for their elite athletic ability. Sam is one of those guys who can throw like that. That's why Jimmy was a second-round draft pick coming from Eastern Illinois, because he was such a gifted thrower. And then it's how do you play after that? And there's so many things that go into that that have nothing to do with your ability. Your ability is God is here. Now it has to do with timing, eyes, how you move the pocket, how you can react, and how do you judge that? They'll say it's a test. They'll say, like, I've had guys with highest IQ ever who can't play. I've had guys with low IQs who really can play. There is no absolute in anything. You have to have the skill set to be at this level. But then it's how do you play football and what makes you move the chains? And everybody's a little bit different, and all you can ask for as a coach is guys who are in the club. And when you get a guy like Sam, in the situation we got him, I mean, I truly see Sam talent-wise as a top pick in the draft, just like he was. And you watch his whole career, and there's no reason to think differently. He hasn't been in the best situations and stuff, so that's why I'm glad to have him here, and I'm so glad that he wanted to come here. He could have gone to a lot of other situations and probably made a lot more money because Sam is at that level. But he wanted to be in this situation, and that's so good for us because we still are trying to figure out what is going to be our health situation when it's said and done. And I do believe we have 3 quarterbacks talent-wise who are all capable of being franchise-type quarterbacks, but that's just capable. There's so much more else to it. There's a lot of guys who've been capable. It's how do you play and how do you win games, and Brock's done that in his 8. And we have 2 other guys on our roster who we strongly believe can do it also.
Did you tweet that out already? That
Yeah,
Kyle Shanahan backs you up?
Yeah.
It's going to be out there tonight. You can count on it.
When you guys got Christian McCaffrey, you added him to this roster of a lot of versatile playmakers. We're going to see Christian a little later. Is your mind, even in the offseason, is it working? Like different ways that you can use him this year that you didn't use him last year? Like when you have a guy like that who can do so many different things, what does that do for you as a play designer and a play caller?
It makes it easier. It calms your mind a little bit. You don't have to make as much stuff up. Everyone wants to be like, oh, you got him now. How creative are you going to be? And it's like, you don't have to be as creative. He can beat that guy. We don't have to help him. The defense has got to help the guy guarding him. That's where it gets cool. And that's what I love so much about Christian and just having him for those 9 games, which Christian should be undefeated too. We put him in after 1 day versus Kansas City, so he has 1 loss. But he had only been here for like 24 hours, so he should be undefeated with Brock. But Christian's so different, just the position. Christian is we have a lot of real talented players on our team, especially our 5 eligibles. Christian's just so consistent. And when you match up his talent with his preparation, with his mind, with the position he plays and who guards him, I don't care what the leverage is that linebacker's going to play, Christian's going to beat him. And it's consistently. And when you have someone who can do that consistently, and the defense respects that, they're not going to allow that linebacker to play leverage in a certain way without help on the other leverage. And so when you have a guy like that, whether he breaks in or out, it takes 2, which now means Kittle versus strong safety. When that safety plays outside leverage and the guy breaks in, there's no one there to help him. When a guy plays outside leverage on Debo, and Debo just runs in, where if we get the ball in Debo's hand, he's got a chance to be gone. Well, usually the linebacker can help there. Anyone who breaks in, then we got to go to someone else late. Well, now they're just going to Christian, because if they don't, he's that consistent. So like if I could put it in like basketball terms, which are totally different, but like you got someone like Steph Curry that people are they think he's gonna make that 3 every time. So when you put Steph somewhere, what does that do for everyone else? Well, they're not gonna put one guy on it. Steph can create leverage and make a 3 forever. So you're gonna have to have help somewhere, which now, who else can just beat a guy who's playing outside with no help? And it just spaces everything out. And to me, Christian out of any of those players, because of the position he plays and because of everything else stacked with it, he really makes it easier, in my opinion, to get the ball to Kittle, to get it to Debo, to get it to Ayuk, to get it to Juwan. And as a play caller, I'm not as stressed because you just let it happen, and I don't care what they do. You guys pick your poison. Go ahead, double them. Others are pretty good.
Every year there's turnover with coaching staff, players. You guys have brought in Javon Hargrave. You've got Steve Wilkes now as your defensive coordinator. How are you feeling about the roster from the coaching staff all the way to the players?
I feel real good. I mean, we changed our entire offensive staff last year for our O-line coach. So that was a grind throughout the offseason just to get everyone on the same page, and it takes time. On the defense, I was really worried about that happening to them this year. We were fortunate to keep our whole defensive staff, but we did lose an unbelievable coach in D'Amico. To be able to bring Steve Wilkes in and not change the whole staff, to me, is our biggest advantage. Just going through the interview process with him, I know how good he is from playing against him, but I had to get to know him. And then when a guy who definitely should have got a head coach job this year, and now you're asking him to come across the country to be a coordinator, and also don't bring any of your own staff. I already have the dudes here I want you to work with. Sometimes that's not always great. So we had to meet and kind of talk about what we're envisioning, and I really wanted to see how we play. And it was very similar to how he plays. Definitely some differences, but I wanted to present to him, man, we know you're good, but our guys have done this for so long. Our linebackers, Fred and Greenlaw, have been playing together forever, and their linebacker coach has been here for going into his 7th year. Our D-line has been playing together for a long time, and we got a great D-line coach. You come in here, you major in secondary, but I want you to learn everything we've done for the last 6 years. And I went back to my own experience of just remember growing up. I remember when I was in 6th grade, my dad got fired from Denver. My dad moved out to here, and my family had to stay back in Denver for about 3 months. We moved at the end of the year. So my dad moved out here in February, and he took Mike Holmgren's spot, who's here tonight, just saw him. But my dad was the only coordinator, and he had to meet all these other coaches who had been here for 10 years, who had been through Walsh, Holmgren, all these guys. And he also had to talk to players who had been in this offense for the entire time. Jerry, John Taylor, Tom Rathman, Joe Montana, Steve Young, and so he came in as the outsider knowing nothing, and he spent his first 3 months when his family was away in a hotel at the Marriott where we stayed, and all he did was pull up every recorded video. He got to study all Holmgren's installs from the 3 years prior. He got to go back to Bill Walsh's stuff. He would call in a player each day. He'd interview Joe Montana, what the offense has been for the last year in Joe's words. Then he'd interview Steve the exact same way. You'd get to hear how they saw it different. Then he'd call in Tom Rathman, what does this mean to you? Then he'd go back and watch the coaches thing and how the coaches are saying it, how the players saying it. And he spent 3 months away from his family getting that in. And then by the time the players all came, he knew the offense is good, if not better than them. Because he had to be so anal though. I shouldn't say that word. All right, he had to be so exact about all that stuff. So he got it down. And then I personally felt like he took it to another level. And that's what I was trying to sell to Steve. Like, I've been recording every single meeting for the last 6 years. I don't care what it is, you can go watch it. And you're gonna move out here, your family's not gonna come with you right away. I really believe if you study this and get it down, you're gonna really like it. And then, because how good of a coach you are and experience you have, make it better. Don't try to make it better until you get it down. But once you get it down, make it better. And just being with him the last 3 months, I mean, I think the defense staff's a little annoyed they don't leave off season as early as they normally do. Because we got a coach here who's trying to catch up, and he's going to, and he's going to give us an op to be better.
What the player that we're honoring with the Dwight Clark Award for being the exemplary teammate, Fred Warner. What has he showed you during his time with the 49ers from that kind of leadership, good teammate spectrum?
I mean, not even talking about how good of a player is. Fred's one of the reasons why the offseason's so easy. I used to have to spend so much time teaching people the importance of working, how to build that base and how to work now so I can take it off with you guys in the season. So we know how to get through this 16 or 17 game year. I really believe our advantage. I don't think everyone can get up for a game. You see it in basketball all the time. No offense, but that's why the Warriors to me are unbelievable at home and bad on the road, because crowd noise affects a basketball shot. Because there's so many games and you can't get up for it on the road, so they get up for it more at home. In football, there's only one a week and you get 17 of them. You have to give it all you have every single time like it is Game 7. And even though everybody says that, I don't think many teams do it. I think we do. I really do. I think that's why our film looks different. I think that's why our film looks different than people. I think that's why the NFL, after playing us this year, and not one team in the league won a game the next week, which to me is a really cool stat. But that's what you try to say and preach, which everyone does. But when you have someone like Fred Warner, it makes it really easy. He's a guy who started since he's been here as a third-round pick, played at a high level and went to the Super Bowl as a rookie, got better the second year, got paid very well, I think his third year, and played better his fourth year and has continued to get better his fifth year. And if you ever come to our building and want to see a player out there, it's going to be Fred. And we have to pull Fred off. He only knows one way. He practices that way, he plays that way. And when you have guys like that, you can stack it up with guys like Kittle's very similar. Christian McCaffrey is exactly like that. All our players try to be like that. And if you're not, you stick out. And to me, it starts with Fred. And that's, you work hard to do that, but then when you have we always said like culture isn't about something you're gonna say, culture is about the people you have in it. And if you have the right people, your culture will be good. And Fred is the perfect example of that. We have a culture that people work, they want to be good at football, and game one means everything to them, just like a Super Bowl and NFC championship does. And when you do that, I think you got a chance to win every week, no matter how good you are.
Well, you and Dwight Clark share something in common. You guys both wore number 87. You wore it. You were inspired by Ed McCaffrey, Christian's dad, who played under your dad. But I know you had some interactions with him. You were a ball boy for the 49ers when Dwight was there. What stands out to you about Dwight and in some of those interactions you had?
Well, I mean, I know so much about Dwight now, just growing up, my own personal ones. I mean, when I moved here in 6th grade, I didn't know as much about the Niners as I should have. I've been in Denver most of my life, and I just moved out here, and I remember like in the first 10 days seeing Dwight somewhere, and my mom was around, and Dwight stuck out like a G, like a cool dude. I'm like, I was like, Mom, who's that guy? She's like, it's Dwight Clark. And looked at, I still remember how she looked at me, like she was disappointed I was her son. She's like, you don't know about the catch? I'm like, no, what's the catch? And then she's like,
You're sleeping outside
I was
tonight.
like 6 months old, so I don't think I should have, but I promise I learned then. And I still remember the moment I learned how big the catch was, and it was because of the way my mom looked at me. But then I got to spend the next 3 years at training camp just hanging around Dwight, who was as cool of a human there could be. Then I remember in college when I went and met my dad for a long weekend, and they were doing owners meeting, so I went and met him in Florida. I was living in Tampa Bay at the time, and met him at the pool, and Dwight was there because he was so I got to hang out with Dwight at the pool for about 4 hours and just hang with him, and how cool of a dude he was then. And then I remember about a month after he got diagnosed with a sickness, it was my first year here. He came in the draft one afternoon, random afternoon. It was just John and I in there, and he came in and hung out with John and I for about an hour. And that was the last time I got to really spend some time with him. And just those 3 events in particular are so spread out, and so many. Dwight was in such a different situation along with myself in all 3 of those years, and just how he was always the same guy I remember that I saw from afar in 6th grade. And then to be here and to really, I can't tell you guys, when we play playoff games and stuff, I go back and I watch so many old Niner games because I think it pumps our players up, and I try to cut it up the right way. So in the last 3 years, I've watched more old Niner games and I actually know them now like a coach as opposed to a 2-year-old fan. And God damn, it was cool.
Let's give it up for Kyle Shanahan.
Thank you guys.